to the Rabbi Louis J. Siegel Sanctuary as we begin our Shabbat morning service here at Temple Emeth in Teaneck. I hope that you will join with us in a prayer service by following along in the Siddur. If you own a copy of Mishkan Tefillah, now is the perfect time to bring your Siddur to the screen or the device on which you're watching us. If you don't have a copy of the Siddur, you can go to the Temple Emeth live streaming page, scroll down just a little bit, and you will see a section that says to access the Siddur prayer book. And you can click through to a flipbook edition of Mishkan Tefillah. That edition has the same page numbers that we will be using as we join in prayer this morning using Mishkan Tefillah. Also, we find that it's helpful in creating bonds of virtual community if you type something into the chat or comment section of the live stream platform. So perhaps it is your name, perhaps it is a simple greeting such as Shabbat Shalom or the location you're joining us from. But we hope that by sharing just a little bit of information about one another, we'll feel connected through the internet as we join together in this virtual worship service this morning. At this time, I invite you to turn in Mishkan Tefillah to page 192. On page 192, Cantor Tillum will lead us in our opening song. Please join us as together we sing Ma Tovu.
Yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la. Ma tovu alecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la. ואני ברב חסדך אבוא ביתך אשתחווה לך קודשך בירתך יאללה לה 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 יאללה לה 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 יאללה לה 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 יאללה לה 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 אדוני אהבתי מאוד ביתך ומקום משכן כבודך ואני אשתחווה לך אברך לפני אדוני עושי יאללה לה 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 יאללה לה 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 יאללה לה 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 יאללה לה 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 ואני תפילתי לך אדוני את רצון אלוהים ברוב חסדך הנני באמת אישך יאללה לה 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 יאללה לה 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 יאללה לה 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 יאללה לה לה לה.
Our next two prayers thank God for the miracle of the human body and the miracle of the soul. Together they make our existence possible, and we thank God for them first on page 194 as we thank God for the body, and then on page 196 as we thank God for the soul. We read together in English, "Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who formed the human body with skill, creating the body's many pathways and openings. It is well known before your throne of glory that if one of them be wrongly opened or closed, it would be impossible to endure and stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, who heals all flesh, working wondrously. Baruch atah Adonai, rofeh chol basar, umafli la'asot. My God, the soul you have given me is pure. You created it, you shaped it, you breathed it into me, and you protect it within me. For as long as my soul is within me, I offer thanks to you, Adonai, my God and God of my ancestors. Source of all creation, sovereign of all souls, praised are you, Adonai, in whose hand is every living soul and the breath of humankind. Baruch atah Adonai, asher biado nefesh kol chai, veruach kol basar ish."
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lasech vivina lefchin ben yom uben laila. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, zokech kifufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, rokah haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, amechlin mitzadei gaver. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, anoten laya'ef koach. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamavir sheina me'enai udnuma me'afapai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani b'tselem Elohim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani bat chorin. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Yisrael b'gvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, oter Yisrael b'tifara.
As we turn now to page 204, we join together in the blessing for the study of Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. O Adonai, our God, let the words of Torah be sweet in our mouths and the mouths of your people Israel, so that we, our descendants, and the descendants of all your people Israel may know you by studying your Torah for its own sake. Blessed are you, Adonai, who teaches Torah to your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, hamelamed Torah le'amo Yisrael. Having offered the blessing for the study of Torah, we turn now to page 206, where we find an excerpt of Torah, oral Torah, which tells us of our obligations in this world. Please join in reading with me in English. These are things that are limitless, of which a person enjoys the fruit of the world, while the principle remains in the world to come. They are honoring one's father and mother, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study morning and evening, dealing graciously with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, being devoted in prayer, and making peace among people. But the study of Torah encompasses them all. We continue our service now on page 215, where we find Ashrei. Ashrei is the responsive recitation of a psalm, and so I will offer the first couplet, and I invite you to join with Cantor Tillum in offering the responses. We join now in Ashrei. Ashrei yoshvei beitecha od yehalelucha selah.
Ashrei ha'am shekacha lo, Ashrei ha'am she'Adonai Elohai.
Tehila leDavid aromimcha Elohai hamelech, v'avarcha shimcha leolam va'ed.
B'chol yom avarcheka, v'halala shimcha leolam va'ed.
Gadol Adonai umehulal me'od, v'ligdulato ein cheker.
Dur ledor yishabach ma'asecha, u'gvuratecha yagidu.
Hadar kavod hodecha, v'divrei niflotecha asicha.
Ve'zuz noratecha yomeru, u'gdulatcha asaprena.
Zecher rav tuvcha yabi'u, v'tzidkatcha yiranenu.
Chanun v'rachum Adonai, erech apayim u'dochased.
Tov Adonai lakol, brachamav al kol ma'asav.
Yoducha Adonai kol ma'asecha, v'chasidecha yivarchucha.
Kevod malchutcha yomeru, ugvratecha yidaberu.
Leodia livnei Adam gevurotav, uchavod adar malchutav.
Malchutcha malchut kol olamim, umemshaltecha b'chol dor v'ador.
Somech Adonai lechol anovlim, v'zokef lechol akfufim.
Einei chol elecha yisaberu, v'atanoten lehem et ochlam be'ito.
Poteach et yadecha, u'masbia lechol chai ratzon.
Tzadik Adonai b'chol derachav, v'chasid b'chol ma'asav.
Karov Adonai lechol korav, lechol asher יקראו באמת.
רצון יראיו יעשה, ואת שבתם ישמע ויושיעם.
שומר אדוני את כל אוהביו, ואת כל הרשעים ישמיע.
תהילת אדוני ידבר פיו, יברך כל בשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד.
ואנחנו נברך יה מעתה ועד עולם. Hallelujah.
Our service continues on page 223. Yishtabach Shimcha la'ad malkeinu, you shall always be praised, great and holy God, our sovereign in heaven and on earth. Songs of praise and psalms of adoration become you, acknowledging your might and your dominion. Yours are strength and sovereignty, sanctity, grandeur, and glory always. We offer our devotion, open our hearts in acclamation. Baruch atah Adonai el melech gadol batish bachot, el hahodaot adon haniflaot, habocher b'shirei zimra, melech el chei ha'olamim. Praised are you, sovereign of wonders, crowned in adoration, delighting in song, eternal majesty.
Yitkadash v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
V'almad yivarach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayichan v'yomechan v'chayei t'chol beit Yisrael b'gala uvizman kari v'imeru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mivorach Le'olam olam me'olamaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitomam v'yitnasei v'yitadar v'yitalal shemei d'kudesha b'richu le'la min kol birchata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechemata Damiran be'alma v'meru. Amen.
Please rise for the Baruch Hu, page 226.
Baruch Hu et Adonai hamivarach. Baruch Adonai hamivarach le'olam va'ed.
We honor God's work of creation by reciting Yotzer Or on page 228. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, Yotzer Or uvorei choshech, oseh shalom uvorei et hakol. Hameir la'aretz v'ladarim aleha barachamim, uvtuvo mechadesh b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reishit. Ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai, kulam b'chochma asita, mal'ah ha'aretz kinyanecha. Titbarach Adonai Eloheinu, al shevach ma'aseh yadecha, ve'al me'orei or she'asita yafa'arucha sela, or chadash al Tzion ta'ir, v'niskechu lana mehira le'oro, Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer ha'me'orot. As we turn the page, we join together in English. Love your neighbor as yourself, you said, and light-blinded we saw that inner and outer worlds are one as you are one. You spoke and we wrote. We reached for you down the centuries, your light moving before us. As we climbed, fell back, and climbed again, your Sinai of life. Baruch atah Adonai habocher be'amo Yisrael be'ahava.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Avad.
Please be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
We turn now to page 239 as we offer a reading affirming God's truth. Emet, there is no place where you are not. Even in the wilderness, there is your word. Emet, that pen strokes of lightning, white fire, black flame, stir the soul's passion, guide our sacred way. True and enduring is Torah. Your truth for us is certain and established, now and forevermore. Like Moses, Miriam, and all Israel, we sing out and rejoice.
Mi chamocha b'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora teilot osei felah. Shira chadasha, shibechu geulim l'shimecha al tzvat hayam, yachad kulam hadu ve'im licho ve'amera, Adonai yimloch le'olam vo'ed. Yisrael, kuma bezrat Yisrael, uvdechenu mecha, Yehuda v'Yisrael, go'alenu Adonai tzvaot shemo, Kadosh Yisrael, baruch atah Adonai, God Yisrael.
Our service continues now with the tefillah, which is found in Mishkan Tefillah on page 242. Please rise for the tefillah.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi teilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Gadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim, Tovim v'Konei Akol, v'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ava, Melech Ozer, Moshe U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei Hakol Atarav Le'oshia, Mashiva Ruach U'Morid Agashem, Mechakel Chayim Bechesed, Mechayei Akol Berachamim Rabim, Samech Noflim Verofech Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Ba'al Givurot, Umidor Melech, Melech Memit, Umechayeh, Umatmiach Yeshua, V'ne'emanata lechayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei akol.
Nikadesh et shimcha ba'olam kishem shemakdishim oto b'shmei marom. Kakatuv al yad nevi'echa v'karazeh el zeh ve'amar.
Kaddish, 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 Adonai tzvaot, melech al haaretz kivado.
Adir adirenu Adonai Adonenu, ma'adir shimcha b'chol haaretz.
Baruch kivod Adonai mimekamo.
Echad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu, hu Malkeinu, hu Mosheinu, hu Yashmeinu brachamav le'enei kol chai, Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Yimalach Adonai le'olam, Elohai tzion, L'dor v'dor, Hallelujah. L'dor v'dor, L'dor v'dor, L'dor v'dor, Nagid God lecha, L'dor v'dor, L'dor v'dor, L'dor v'dor, Nagid God lecha. ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם לעולם ועד לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד God לך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד God lecha, Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
Please be seated. You ever have that feeling like you're forgetting to do something, but you can't remember what it is you've forgotten, so you can't do the thing that you've forgotten? Well, I finally remembered the thing that I forgot. It was to ask Cantor Tillam what Shabbat song she wanted to sing at this point.
I thought it was me. I thought he must have asked me and I forgot to respond. Okay. So we've both forgotten, but I think I'll sing Vishamru.
Okay, we turn now to page 250, and to honor Shabbat, we join in singing Vishamru.
Vishameru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Beni uvein bnei Yisrael ati leolam ki sheshet yamim aseh Adonai et hashamayim v'et Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafosh. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafosh.
We continue now on page 252 as we offer a reading that also honors Shabbat. Our God and God of our ancestors, be pleased with our rest. Sanctify us with your mitzvot and grant us a share in your Torah. Satisfy us with your goodness and gladden us with your salvation. Purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Adonai our God, grant us your holy Shabbat as a heritage. May Israel, who sanctifies your name, rest on Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, Mikadesh ha-Shabbat. We turn now to page 259 as we join together in a prayer for peace. We oughtn't pray for what we've never known, and humanity has never known. Unbroken peace, unmixed blessing, no. Better to pray for pity, for indignation, discontent, the will to see and touch, the power to do good and make new. Baruch atah Adonai hamivarech et amo Yisrael. Shalom. We take a moment now for Tfilat Halev, the opportunity to offer to God the prayer of our hearts. Inspirational readings for this time of introspection are found on pages 260 and 261.
sim, sim, shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova uverachavu. Ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la sim 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 shalom sim 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 shalom sim 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 shalom tova uveracha la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la
This week's Torah portion is the combined portion of Vayakhel and Pekudei. Much of the second half of the book of Exodus is concerned with the tabernacle, the donations, the design, and the workforce. By this portion, the work comes to its completion and the tabernacle is erected for the first time. In Parshat Teruma, a few parshiot ago, when the concept of the tabernacle is first introduced in detail, the Torah says, "Let them build me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them." In this week's Torah portion, the section I'm about to read, it says, "The presence of the Eternal filled the tabernacle." The plan from so many months earlier now brings God into their midst. It changes their trajectory and creates a space for worship that had not existed before. You can follow along as I read from the Torah at Exodus chapter 40, verse 34. It can be found in the original Plaut commentary on page 687 and in the New Plaut on page 634. We will also put the words on the screen. And I think it's important to note that these are the closing verses of the book of Exodus. And so after I read the words from the Torah, we'll join together in the three words that conclude every book of the Torah. Though they're not written here, they are written into Jewish tradition: strength, strength, and may we be strengthened. Joining us here in the sanctuary are Debbie and Mike Newman for the honor of the Aliyah. So we're going to turn on their camera, and so they can offer the blessing. Okay.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam.
Asher bachar banu. Amen. Amen. Vayichas ha'anan et ohel moed, uchvod Adonai malei et hamishkan, v'lo yachol Moshe lavo el ohel moed, ki shachen alav ha'anan, uchvod Adonai malei et hamishkan, v'behalot ha'anan me'al hamishkan, yis'u v'nei Yisrael, b'chol masehem, v'im lo ye'aleh ha'anan, v'lo yis'u ad yom he'aloto, ki anan Adonai al hamishkan yomam, va'esh tihye laila vo, le'enei chol beit Yisrael b'chol masehem, chazak chazak v'nitchazek.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם בקרבנו. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. And before we turn the camera off of Debbie and Mike, look up so everyone can see you. I want to wish Debbie and Mike a happy 57th wedding anniversary coming up this week. So mazel tov to you, and much happiness in the year and the 57 years ahead. So mazel tov to you.
Thank you.
Our service continues now with the Mishaberach, which is found in your Siddur on page 371. If you are thinking of someone in need of healing and you'd like to share their name in the chat or comment section of the live stream platform, I invite you to do so. We will stream the names of those in our community in need of healing. In addition to the names we'll show on the screen, we add the name Barry Klebzon, which was submitted to the temple after we concluded the compilation of this week's names. As we mark the 1-year anniversary of the coronavirus pandemic, we acknowledge how much suffering there has been and how much suffering continues, whether it is individuals still battling with COVID-19 itself or others who are feeling the long-term effects, others who are grieving, and still others who are just adjusting to life as it has changed in this past year. We think of all of them. We pray for healing of body and healing of spirit as we join together now in the Mishaberach.
May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mikor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
This month, the Israeli Supreme Court made a landmark ruling. They decided in favor of plaintiffs whose petition to become Israeli citizens under the law of return had been previously denied because they converted to Judaism in Israel under the auspices of a reform or conservative rabbi. The law of return, which was passed in the early days of the state to establish Israel as a safe haven for all Jews after the carnage of the Holocaust, does not specify any types of Jews. At the time, Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion was adamant that the law of return didn't create a right of return for Jews to return to Israel. Rather, the law enshrined a right that had always existed because of the eternal connection between the people and the land of Israel. Because being Jewish was so dangerous at the time, the framers of the law of return probably didn't consider large numbers of converts wanting to emigrate. But times change, And in part because of Israel's presence as a stabilizing force for world Jewry, converting to Judaism isn't such a crazy idea in a lot of places. So people come from all over the world to study or work or visit in Israel, and some of them want to convert and stay forever. The law of return says not a word about excluding them. But as with any broad legal statement, the details of the law of return are left to interpretation. For many years, the rabbinate in Israel has refused to recognize conversions that were not done under their auspices. This monopoly on acceptable conversions meant that dozens of people who had converted with sincerity under the mentorship of a Reform or conservative rabbi, and who chose to live a normative Jewish life within the expectations of Israeli society, were not considered Jewish by the state. In essence, the law of return did not apply to them. Enter the Supreme Court, which is appointed largely separately from the political process. The court does not like to intervene in political issues before giving political institutions time to resolve them on their own. In this case, it became clear to the court that the Knesset would not act on this issue, perhaps because of its volatility as a political issue. The court ruled this month that the petitioners must be granted citizenship under the law of return. It was a victory, both large and small. It was small because it affected only a few dozen people out of 7 million, but it was large because it was the Israeli Supreme Court, one of the most respected institutions in the country, affirming that there is more than one way to be Jewish. The decision, not surprisingly, outraged the rabbinate. Afraid to lose their monopolistic grip on religious life in Israel, they turned to fear tactics to demonize their enemies. Rabbi Josh Weinberg, the director of the Association of Reform Zionists of America, saw the response of his adversaries and could tell they felt threatened. He wrote, "We're threatening because we provide meaningful and authentic Jewish expression in creating a new kind of Israeli Judaism, one that values tradition, gives new meaning to ancient rituals, and incorporates the rich Hebrew culture of the past century." As they often do, the Orthodox establishment portrayed themselves as the custodians of the Jewish people, though they are scorned by so many they claim to be protecting. This time, one of the Orthodox political parties, the United Torah Judaism Party, created an ad that compared Reform converts to dogs. With Israeli elections just a couple of weeks away, the High Court's decision is now a wedge issue in the scramble for votes. Because Israel's current government relies on Orthodox parties to stay in power, it is easy for American Jews to think that all Israelis dismiss the idea of religious pluralism. The Supreme Court's decision is a welcome reminder that Israeli society is much more diverse than that, and that plenty of Israelis are open to a Judaism that is modern, egalitarian, compassionate, and humble. We should embrace this victory, both the large and small aspects of it. This week's Torah portion is Vayakhel Pekudei. It focuses on the completion of the tabernacle and on accuracy of accounting for all the donations that have made it possible. When the parts of the tabernacle have been fashioned and the vestments of the priests are completed, the tabernacle is constructed for the first time, and God's presence dwells within it. It shows that what they have spent so much time building has actually come to fruition. The lesson of building for future spiritual advances is not lost on Reform Jews in Israel. As Rabbi Weinberg wrote, this moment is a crucial step in our story. It is a chance to empower, to build, and to ensure that in the next battle, which will doubtless come soon, our values and our message will carry on. This is a moment to celebrate good news coming out of Israel and find more ways to connect Reform Jewry in the state. Zionism today is about what Israel will look like in the future. It is about the values the state upholds and a test of its character. And it is incumbent on all of us to go beyond the four walls of our individual communities to join in and be part of the story. Israel is our story, and this decision may well be the opening of a new chapter. Shabbat Shalom. At this time, our service continues with the Aleinu. The Aleinu is found in your Siddur on page 586 at the bottom of the page. Please rise for the Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol latet gdula liotzer bereshit shelo asanu kikoye haratzot velo samanu k'mishpachot adama shelo sam chalkeinu kahem v'gora aleinu kichol amonam va'anachanu koreim u'mishtachavim u'modim livnei melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu V'nemar V'haya Adonai L'melech al kol haaretz Bayom hahu Yeh Adonai Echad Ushema Echad.
We remain standing at this time for a reading to introduce the Mourner's Kaddish found on page 595. It is hard to sing of oneness when the world is not complete, when those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone and naught but memory can fill the emptiness their passing leaves behind. But memory can tell us only what we were in company with those we loved. It cannot help us find what each of us alone must now become. Yet no one is really alone. Those who live no more echo still within our thoughts and words, and what they did is part of what we have become. We do best homage to our dead when we live our lives more fully, even in the shadow of our loss. For each of our lives is worth the life of the whole world. In each one is the breath of the ultimate one. In affirming the one, we affirm the worth of each one whose life now ended brought us closer to the source of life, in whose unity no one is alone, and every life finds purpose. This Shabbat, we remember those for whom we are in the Shloshim, 30-day period of mourning. Marlene Gorley, cousin of Ida Jean Fisher. David Cohane, member of Temple Emeth, husband of Wendy Kosakoff and father of Danny, Josh, and Adam Cohane. Ted Gorley, cousin of Ida Jean Fisher, and Frederick Towers, stepfather of Lisa Abrams. We remember as well those whose yahrzeits occurred this week: Elisheva Atlas, Leonard Badian, Bertha Beespiel, Florence Burke, Peter Berenson, Harry Binder, John Fenchel, Michael Fershine, Mealy Fisher, Jean Frent, Harris Garfinkel, Nathan Goldstein, Muriel Gordon, Harry Gutfleisch, Sigmund Gutman, Lillian Hart, David Stephen Hochstadt, Judith Jacobs, Harold Katz, Seymour Kessler, Jerry Klein, Sarah Kopekin, Marvin Kraft, Francis M. Polishuk, Neil David Pollock, Morris Primus, Estelle Rare, Albert Shapiro, Jack Schimmel, Miriam Sofer Siegel, Irving Sorofman, Evelyn Bernstein, Bernard Starr, Murray Wank, Benjamin Yegelwell, and Rose Zadra. We remember the names of 6 of the 6 million who perished in the Holocaust. Joseph Gokes of the Netherlands, age 38, Yakov Kopelevich of Poland, age 34, Shaya Kopelevich of Poland, age 36, Lena Lewandowski of Germany, age 68, Chaya Lecholat of Belgium, age 36, and Estella Cute of the Netherlands, age 46. And on this first anniversary of the coronavirus pandemic, we remember all those who have died of COVID-19, over 530,000 Americans, over 2 million worldwide. We remember them all. We take them into our hearts with our own as we turn now to page 598 and we join together in the life-affirming words of the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, Ve'alma divrach yirutei ve'amlich malchutei. V'chayechon uvyomechon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'vizman kariv imru. Amen. Yehei shmei rabba mivorach leolam ulalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudsha b'richu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say, Amen. Please be seated. It is my pleasure at this time to call upon Elaine Nissen, a member of our Board of Trustees, to offer Shabbat greetings and announcements.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, it is my pleasure to welcome you to Temple Emeth Saturday morning service on live stream. We will be holding a virtual town hall meeting tomorrow, March 14th at 11 a.m. Don't forget to change your clocks tonight so that you're going to be there on time. Learn what's happening at the temple. Ask questions of your officers and visit with your fellow congregants. Temple Emeth is partnering with Ember by Smokey Joe to offer a discount on delicious catering for your Seder. Use the promotion code to receive 5% off of your order, with 5% going back to the temple if you order by this Monday, March 15th. See our website for more information. Come and wish your fellow temple members a happy Passover at a pre-Passover gathering in our parking lot on Friday, March 26th at 4 p.m. Everyone who attends will receive a Passover brownie. And there will also be a raffle for other Passover treats. Temple Emeth, in collaboration with Temple Sinai of Tenafly, will be offering 3 Passover celebrations: a first night Seder on Zoom, a festival morning service on live stream, and a second Seder on Zoom. Watch your email for links to those services. Thanks to today's many volunteers that make this all possible. In the live stream control booth, there are Gail and Michael Goldberg, Amanda Eastman, and Barbara Balkin. They're at the controls this morning, making sure everything runs smoothly. Finally, remember to keep your weekly email, which comes every Thursday, in your inbox for the entire week. It has the login codes for all of the week's Zoom programming. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
We conclude our service at this time with Kaddish and Motzi. So as we're preparing for that, I invite you to bring your Kaddish cup to the screen. And if you can multitask, you can bring your Kaddish cup to the screen, and you can put another greeting in the chat or comment section as we are drawing close to the end of our service. And now I'll ask you to rise as we lift our Kaddish cups and we join together in Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Amen.
L'chaim. And we join together. I have to learn how to do this better. Here we go. They gave me plastic gloves because I like cutting the challah and giving our volunteers just a little piece on their way out. I think I put my pinky in the thumb slot and my thumb in the pinky slot. That having been said, we join together in the Motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
As we conclude our service, we turn to those around us. If you are sharing your Mikdash Ma'at, your miniature sanctuary with another person, or you can offer a greeting in the chat section. One way or another, we turn to a fellow worshiper and we conclude our service by saying, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.